So on yesterday, I came in and did a video letting you guys know that one, Donald Trump's trial, along with his 18 co-defendants, was going to be televised live here in Fulton County. We also talked about how Letitia James filed a new motion, and in that new motion that she filed on yesterday, there was a lot of documentation, a lot of statements that accompanied that motion, right? What I didn't know at the time was that the transcript from the deposition that Donald Trump gave in regards to Letitia James's case, that transcript was dropped on yesterday. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am Tabitha, and somebody got down in my comments on yesterday and commented this. Donald is now saying that it was Eric. Eric was the one in charge of the Trump organization, trying to throw his own son under the bus. Well, I can remember one of those authors stated that Donald Trump would throw his own children underneath the bus if it helped him to get away scot-free from his crimes. And here it is come to pass. That commenter is absolutely right. First, let's take a look at what CNN reported regarding these transcripts that became available on yesterday.
Attorney General Letitia James is piling on to former President Trump's already enormous legal woes, making public new estimates of just how much she and her office are accusing Trump of inflating his net worth ahead of his October civil fraud trial. Now, in the court filing made public yesterday, she alleges Trump and allies, quote, employed a variety of deceptive schemes to grossly inflate values for many of Trump's assets, from anywhere between roughly $800 million to more than $2 billion. Now, it's worth noting Trump's team responded in filings Wednesday that the whole case should be thrown out. James, meanwhile, is asking a judge to rule on it without a trial because of the overwhelming evidence her office says it has presented. Now, this is also interesting. Back in April, Trump actually sat down with James's office for a 7-hour deposition, which was also unsealed yesterday. Now, it shows him putting up a hodgepodge of defenses. First, he never thought his financial statements would be taken seriously. He said he prepared the statements, quote, just for himself to see a list of properties. Next, it wasn't actually him. It was his son, Eric. Trump says his son has taken over control of the business in recent years, but also added that he does still have say on major final decisions. Whatever. Trump says he has been hands-off since launching his campaign in 2015, and his kids took over when he assumed office in 2017. But James's suit dates back to 2011, and in 2014, the year before he announced his White House bid, James alleges he inflated his net worth by up to $2.23 billion. But Trump argued that James's office underestimated his worth because they overlooked how valuable his brand is. If that were reflected, he said, you could double or even triple his financial statements. James' allegations continue through 2021, including Trump's 4 years in the White House. During those years, however, Trump says he was too busy to commit fraud, preoccupied with what he calls the most important job in the world, quote, saving millions of lives, and also saying he prevented a nuclear holocaust with North Korea. Now, asked whether the Trump organization has any protocols to make sure it complies with the law, Trump said that is why they have lawyers, and that he has a reputation for being, quote, the most honest person in the world.
Now, when I saw this report floating around on social media, I was like, wait a minute. He said, what about Eric? Because they didn't spend a whole lot of time on that part. And news media really isn't spending a lot of time on that part of the transcript. What they are talking about is this part of the transcript. Donald Trump is asked, how did those roles change? Speaking the roles of he and Don Jr. and Eric and Ivanka, how did their roles change once he became president of the United States and he put his company in a trust of some sort. And then the kids would be responsible for running the business while he's being president, right? This is what the news media is focusing on. So the question was, how did those roles change? His response was, well, my role was gone. Now, actually, when I was running, which actually started in 2015, from that point on, I was much less involved with the real estate. So it wasn't just why I became president, it was somewhat before that, a year and a half maybe. So in this deposition, he is stating that his role basically started to phase out in the company, which would put the children in charge of the company. They are now more involved with running the company. But yeah, they became more intensely involved with the company. I was virtually not involved at all. I'd rarely have anything to do with anything having to do with the company. I really wasn't interested. Believe it or not, I was interested in solving the problem with North Korea, which was ready to blow up, and solving the problems we had with China, who was just ripping us off left and right, and making sure that Russia never went into Ukraine, which they didn't under our auspices. And a lot of other things. There were a lot of things that were happening in the world, as you probably know, and I did a very good job. I got rid of those problems. Those problems are very prevalent today. That was his response to how did the roles change, right? The roles changed because he was now running for president, because he said the roles technically changed a year and a half before he became president. So he was running for president. The roles changed. Ivanka, Don Jr., and Eric, they became more involved. His word was intensely, right? And then he won the presidency, and so he put the company into a trust. And who was in charge of the company when he became president? That was Eric Trump. And that's why he stated at the very beginning of when this deposition started, right? These were opening questions at the beginning of the deposition. Question: and is that a fair description of what the Trump organization is, an umbrella organization? So the line of questioning started with the type of company the Trump organization was. The Trump organization was the big umbrella that housed all of his other real estate businesses. Okay? And so his response was, I think so, yes. Question: Mr. Trump, are you currently the person with ultimate decision-making authority for the Trump organization? No. Question: who would that be? And here's where Donald Trump goes to throw his son, Eric Trump, under the bus. Who would that be is the question. The answer: my son Eric is much more involved with it than I am. I've been doing other things, and I guess you could say on something major, final decisions, whatever, but I've been much less involved in it than over the last 5 years, 5 or 6 years than ever before. Question: okay, well, I think we'll try to go through your role over time. Answer: okay. Question: because it has changed, is that correct? Answer: yes, it has. Donald Trump, in that deposition, said that his son was in charge of that business for the past 5 or 6 years. He went on further to say that he had become less involved with the business, and the children became more involved in the business a year and a half before he became president. So the math is mathing. He threw his son, Eric Trump, under the bus. But here's why Donald Trump is implicated in all of this. Because Letitia James found financial statements, standard financial conditions are what they're called. Standard financial conditions, which are his financial statements for his business, the financial statements that he uses to get bank loans, to get lower interest rates, and to get insurance for the business, right? These standard financial conditions, better known as financial statements, the ones that she found date back to 2011, where he was the owner and operator of the business from day to day. But yet, he tried to throw his son, Eric Trump, under the bus. It's to be expected. It's the type of individual that he is. It is indicative of his character. He's a low-life individual. He will never take responsibilities for his actions, especially if they're criminal, especially if they are bad, and if they make him look bad. He will never take accountability or responsibility for those actions. He will always put it on somebody else. Y'all let me know your thoughts about Donald Trump throwing his son under the bus.